Hey there, future civil servants. You ready for another deep dive with us?
I'm ready.
All right. Today we're going to be talking about wetland conservation,
Sounds good.
which, it's popping up more and more in current affairs,
Yeah,
and it's super relevant for both mains and prelim.
absolutely.
So this is something that you really need to know backward and forward. And we're going to be using a recent article from The Hindu as our guide.
Okay.
So, it's really fascinating to me how we often overlook wetlands. They just seem like these swampy patches of land, but they're actually ecological powerhouses. Explain that to me a little bit. Why are they so important?
Well, they only cover about 6% of the Earth's surface,
Yeah.
but contribute almost 40% to global ecosystem services.
40%. That's amazing. So break it down for me a little bit. What makes wetlands so valuable?
Well, I think the most important part is they act like natural filters. They purify water, and they regulate water cycles.
Right.
So they help prevent floods and droughts.
Which is so important, especially in a country like India,
Right.
where we're already facing water stress.
Exactly.
So they're like nature's water management system.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's so cool.
And also they are biodiversity hotspots.
Right?
They're teeming with unique plants and animals, provide essential habitats and breeding grounds for countless species. And get this, they're even crucial in the fight against climate change.
Wetlands and climate change. I don't really see the connection.
Well, they're giant carbon sinks, so they absorb and store massive amounts of carbon dioxide
Oh, okay.
from the atmosphere,
Got it.
preventing it from contributing to global warming.
So protecting wetlands is almost like having a natural weapon against climate change.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
That definitely
Yeah.
makes them a hot topic.
Especially for the UPSC.
Yeah. Especially with sustainable development being such a key theme.
Yeah,
This is where these international agreements, like the Ramsar Convention, come into play.
yeah.
A global effort to conserve these ecosystems. Exactly.
And let's not forget World Wetlands Day, which is celebrated every year on February 2nd.
Yeah.
I bet we'll be seeing questions about that on the exam. But here's the thing, if wetlands are so important, why are they disappearing at such an alarming rate? What's going on?
Well, despite their significance, we're losing wetlands 3 times faster than natural forests.
3 times faster. Wow. What's driving that rapid decline? I mean, I'm guessing human activities are a major factor.
You are absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's a complex interplay of factors,
Yeah.
but human activities are at the heart of it.
Okay, let's break it down. I can definitely see how urbanization would be a major culprit.
Yeah,
As cities expand, they encroach upon these valuable ecosystems.
exactly.
Right.
Wetlands are often seen as empty spaces, ripe for development,
Yeah.
converted into residential areas, industrial zones, infrastructure projects.
Yeah.
And this urban sprawl is happening at a rapid pace, especially in India. Yeah. It's like that classic battle between concrete jungles and natural ecosystems.
Yeah.
But that's not just cities, though, right?
Yeah.
Agriculture has got to be contributing to this problem as well.
You are spot on.
Yeah.
The demand for food is constantly increasing.
Right.
So that leads to the conversion of wetlands into agricultural lands,
Okay.
which not only destroys habitats,
Right.
but disrupts that delicate water balance that we were talking about earlier,
Yeah.
contributes to issues like water scarcity.
So it's a double whammy.
Exactly.
We lose the wetlands, and then we create a whole new set of problems in the process.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, development and agriculture, these are essential for a growing country like India. So how do we balance these needs with the urgent need to protect wetlands?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And one that policymakers and conservationists are grappling with every day.
Right.
It's a complex challenge.
I could imagine.
There's no easy answer.
So we've got urbanization and we've got agriculture. What other threats are these wetlands facing? I mean, I'm guessing pollution is a major issue.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Pollution from industrial waste, agricultural runoff, and even untreated sewage.
Yeah.
It's a huge problem.
Yeah.
These pollutants contaminate the water, making it unfit for wildlife,
Right.
disrupting the entire ecosystem.
So it's not just about the physical loss of the wetland areas, but it's also about the degradation of the remaining wetlands.
Precisely.
That's a multifaceted problem.
And to add another layer of complexity to that, we have climate change, which is acting as a threat multiplier.
Right.
Rising temperatures lead to increased evaporation, drying up wetlands. Changes in rainfall patterns cause more frequent and intense floods and droughts, further stressing these ecosystems.
So it's like a perfect storm of threats converging on wetlands. Sounds pretty dire.
It can be.
But I'm hoping there's a silver lining here. Are there efforts being made to conserve these vital ecosystems?
There are, and we'll delve into those in detail in the next part of our deep dive.
Sounds good. We'll be back in a moment to explore the solutions and strategies being employed to protect wetlands, both globally and here in India. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back. Now, where were we?
Okay, so we left off talking about all the threats
Ah, yes, the threats.
to the wetlands. So I'm hoping there is some good news.
Yeah.
Some efforts being made to conserve these vital ecosystems. I know there are international agreements, like the Ramsar Convention. But what does that actually look like in practice?
Like the Ramsar Convention isn't just about designating important wetlands. It's about promoting wise use.
Okay.
So ensuring that wetlands are managed sustainably for both people and nature.
So it's like a global blueprint for wetland management.
Yeah, you could think of it that way.
Okay. But how effective is it? I mean, can a treaty really make a difference on the ground?
Well, that's a good question.
Yeah.
The effectiveness of the Ramsar Convention, like any international agreement, really depends on how well it's implemented at the national level. You know, it requires strong policies, effective enforcement mechanisms, and most importantly, community involvement.
Community involvement. Why is that so crucial for wetland conservation?
Well, because people who live near wetlands, they're often the ones who rely on them the most for their livelihoods, you know, for fishing, farming, or even just clean water. When communities are actively involved in wetland management, they're more likely to protect those resources and use them sustainably.
That makes sense. It's about empowering the locals to be stewards of their own environments.
Yeah, exactly.
Are there any successful examples of this in India?
Absolutely. There are some inspiring stories across the country where communities have taken the initiative to restore degraded wetlands. For example, the East Kolkata wetlands, which is a really unique example of a peri-urban wetland system that provides a range of ecosystem services, including wastewater treatment and fisheries.
So I've heard of the East Kolkata wetlands. They're a Ramsar site, right?
Yes, they are.
But I thought we said that Kolkata has faced significant wetland loss. So how did they manage to protect this one?
It's really a testament to the power of community involvement. You know, local communities, often with the support of NGOs, played a key role in advocating for the protection and restoration of those wetlands. They understood the value of these ecosystems and actively worked to prevent further degradation.
So cool. It shows that even in the face of rapid urbanization, development pressures, it's possible to protect and even restore these wetlands when communities are empowered and engaged. Are there any other examples of successful community-led conservation efforts?
Oh, there are many.
You
know, in some parts of India, communities have revived traditional water harvesting structures and revived degraded wetlands, showcasing the importance of blending traditional knowledge with modern conservation practices.
That's really fascinating. It highlights the value of, indigenous communities who have lived in harmony with nature for generations. But, community efforts alone can't solve the problem. We need strong policies and effective governance mechanisms as well. So what's being done on that front in India?
Well, India has taken some significant steps. Enacting the Wetlands Conservation and Management Rules in 2017, which aim to regulate activities that impact wetlands. These rules emphasize the need for integrated wetland management. So taking a holistic approach that considers the ecological, social, and economic aspects of these ecosystems.
So it's about moving beyond a siloed approach and recognizing that the wetlands are connected to the larger landscape.
Precisely.
But how effective are these rules in practice? I mean, enforcement is always a challenge. Especially when it comes to environmental protection.
You're right. Enforcement remains a major challenge. There are often gaps in implementation. Illegal encroachment and pollution continue to threaten wetlands. But the fact that these rules exist does provide a legal framework for action, and there are ongoing efforts to strengthen monitoring and enforcement mechanisms.
Well, that's encouraging. But beyond regulations, what other strategies are being employed to protect wetlands in India? What about technology? I can see how technology could be a game changer in monitoring and managing these vast ecosystems.
Absolutely. Technology is playing an increasingly important role.
Yeah.
Satellite imagery and remote sensing are being used to map and monitor wetlands, track changes over time, and identify areas under threat.
Okay.
And this information allows authorities to target conservation efforts more effectively and respond more effectively to illegal activities or environmental emergencies.
So it's like having eyes in the sky to watch over these vulnerable ecosystems.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But what about the economic side of things?
Yeah.
We talked earlier about the cost of losing wetlands.
Yeah.
Are there efforts being made to quantify the economic value of these ecosystems and incorporate that into decision-making?
Yeah, there's a growing recognition of the need to value ecosystem services
Right.
and incorporate them into economic assessments. For instance, there are studies being done
Yeah.
to assess the economic benefits of wetlands for things like flood control,
Right.
water purification, fisheries. This kind of data can be really powerful
Yeah.
in advocating for wetland protection, demonstrating the economic sense of conservation.
It's about making the economic case for conservation.
Yeah.
Showing that protecting wetlands is not just an environmental issue,
Yeah.
but also an economic one.
And there are also efforts to explore sustainable livelihood options
Right.
that depend on healthy wetlands,
Right.
like ecotourism and responsible fishing practices. And this creates a win-win situation where communities benefit economically from conserving these ecosystems.
It's about finding ways for people and nature to thrive together.
Right.
But even with all these efforts, international agreements,
Yeah.
community initiatives, government regulations, technological advancements, the threats to wetlands remain significant. What are some of the biggest challenges that still need to be addressed?
I think one of the biggest hurdles is changing mindsets.
Okay.
Wetlands are often seen as wastelands, obstacles to development,
Right.
rather than valuable assets.
Yeah.
We need to shift this perception and raise awareness about the crucial role they play in our well-being.
It's about changing the narrative.
Yeah.
Highlighting the value of these wetlands, showcasing the benefits that they provide. But awareness alone isn't enough.
Right.
We need to translate that awareness into action.
Absolutely. We need stronger political will and increased investments in wetland conservation. And, it's not just about government funding. We need to explore innovative financing mechanisms, like payments for ecosystems, to attract private sector investment in wetland conservation.
It's about thinking creatively.
Yeah.
Finding new ways to fund and support these conservation efforts. But even with the best intentions and the best strategies, there will always be trade-offs, right? How do we navigate this complex balancing act between development needs and environmental protection, especially in a rapidly developing country like India?
Well, that's a question that requires careful consideration and a nuanced approach. There's no one-size-fits-all answer.
Right.
It requires a collaborative effort, bringing together policymakers, scientists, communities, industry leaders to find solutions that work for both people and the planet.
It's about finding that sweet spot where development and conservation can coexist. But that requires, open dialogue, compromise, a willingness to think outside the box.
Precisely. And it's crucial that we equip the next generation of leaders with the knowledge and skills to tackle these complex challenges. And that brings us back to you, our future civil servants.
Right. So how does all of this tie back to the UPSC exam? Our UPSC aspirants, you heard it there. Wetland conservation, it's something you can't afford to ignore. But how can we expect to see this play out in the exam?
Well, wetland conservation is a multidimensional issue, right?
Right, yeah.
And it aligns perfectly with the UPSC's focus on analyzing these interlinked challenges. So you could see a prelims question, right, about the Ramsar Convention, or the ecological functions of specific wetland types.
Okay, and in the mains exam?
Well, in the mains exam, you might be asked to critically analyze wetland management strategies in India, or assess the impact of wetland loss on livelihoods and disaster preparedness. Remember, the UPSC is looking for more than just rote memorization.
Right.
They want to see your ability to connect the dots between the environmental issues, socioeconomic factors, and governance challenges.
So really having this deep understanding of wetland conservation can help you excel in those analytical questions.
Yeah.
It's not just about knowing the facts, but it's about understanding the complexities.
Yeah, and the nuances. Exactly.
Okay.
Take the issue of balancing development needs, right, with conservation goals. That's a classic dilemma that policymakers face. And it's something you could be asked to discuss in the essay paper.
Yeah.
How do you ensure economic growth while protecting these valuable ecosystems? How do you involve local communities? In these decision-making processes, these are the kind of questions that the UPSC loves to ask.
So it's about demonstrating critical thinking, analytical skills, and a deep understanding of that interconnectedness
Exactly.
of environmental, social, and economic issues. And to help you synthesize all this information, let's take a moment to reflect on a key question that really captures this whole essence of this challenge. Given the competing demands of development and conservation, how can India best protect its remaining wetlands while ensuring sustainable livelihoods for its people?
Good question.
It is a tough question. It's a question that we all need to be thinking about.
Yeah, a question that'll continue to be debated in policy circles, research institutions, and local communities. And as future civil servants, you'll be at the forefront of finding those solutions.
So ponder that question, dear listeners. And remember, we've only scratched the surface of this complex and fascinating topic. For more in-depth information, we encourage you to check out the original article in The Hindu.
And as always, we want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on wetland conservation? What insights did you gain from this deep dive?
Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this episode with your fellow UPSC aspirants. Until next time, happy studying.